go wrong when now it's dark?
Hey everybody, welcome to Now It's Dark. I'm Jim. I just watched a movie on Tubi called Foreclosure 2, indicating that there was a Foreclosure 1 if you didn't know. I didn't. This is a thriller. It's not a horror necessarily, but it does involve this, this ghost story and paranormal type activity. A new family moves into a neighborhood in hopes of meeting the ghost that lives in their home. That is a very deceiving one-line synopsis of this film, written and directed by Brett Bentman. Also sharing writing credits is David Wagner. Our cast, our main character, Lee Wilson, is played by Melissa Cordero. Her husband, Andrew, is played by Brian Villalobos. There is a police detective played by Douglas Cunningham. Their real estate agent is Tiffany McDonald. Both of those two characters were in the first film, I found out. Trina Boyen is played by Natalie Hines, and she was also in the first movie. We have Andrew's parents, Karen, played by Deborah R. Jones, and Gary, with two R's, played by William Wilson. And then we have little Anna Lowe, played by Mabry Gigan. Yeah. So this is a 1 hour and 17 minutes, and it really kind of at times felt like it. So, thriller. So you got to be thinking that there's not always a lot of like intense action and things like that. So thankfully, I was prepared for that going into this. But you know, it's still a Tubi thriller. So it's not necessarily capturing like 100% what they were trying to do. There was no music through this movie as well, and I think this is one of those movies that it really would have helped the setting of the mood and the ambiance in certain scenes if they had some um, kind of score in the background. This is an ITN film, if I didn't mention that already as well. So, yeah, the deception of the one line synopsis, Lee and Andrew are house hunting. They do come across this house. It turns out it's the first house that they've looked at, but Lee really wants it. She's really in love with it. Andrew, not so much. He's like, we just started looking. It seems very overpriced for what it is. And that's true. It did look like it was just like probably one of these people that are acting in or in the production side. It was probably one of their houses. And I get that with low budget, you do with what you have. So that's fine. Um, I thought maybe at first I would start uh, to not be able to piece together the story because I hadn't seen the first one. That's not the case. They do a lot of kind of backfilling for you throughout the scenes uh, into the movies. This is kind of a tropey, not super original story where we have a haunted house type situation. We have a couple that are not necessarily doing the best. They're probably their prime happy marriage is past, and that's due to a trauma that happened uh, in the past with them. Lee was a former nurse who now wants to be a writer. So we have that angle as well, which is also not necessarily very original, where we have the writer literally moving into a house for the sake of inspiration to help write. And we also have Andrew, who's just kind of like a dick. He's got some definite things going on, and that's the reveal at the end, what it is that he has going on. When they finally do buy the house, because Lee is very persistent, buys the house. Andrew is definitely not happy about it. they have the in-laws over for dinner, and mom, whose name is Karen, and I think that that's on purpose. She really was a Karen. She was kind of a bitch, and Gary was just a silent dad who just was there to eat his supper. And mom was poking and prodding. And then, she drops a few hints of like, when are you going? This is a big house, it's pretty empty. How will you fill it all with just the two of you? Have you thought about having another? And that's all that we say that we get out of that until later on. Then we get to reveal that they did have a pregnancy that went bad. That's not necessarily very spoilerish. There's not really a lot to spoil here because it's a very, very slow paced thriller. And the thrills are not necessarily very thrilling. It's really more of a crime drama almost. Um, they probably should tag this as a crime drama because with Lee writing her book, and now, she's, of course, seeing and hearing things. She's trying to find out the history of who it is that she sees and how it relates to her and the house. And so, with her, detective skills, she finds a actual detective. Well, first she finds the sister-in-law of the previous owners, and that's that Trina Boyan. She comes over, fills in quite a bit of the backstory, which is basically the first movie, um, and then tips Lee off to who the detective was that had worked on that case in the first movie, basically. And Lee gets in touch with him. He's retired now, but seems to still have access to all the police files and just has no problem having them copied and given to this woman who's seeing things and hearing things in her house. So she does a lot of detective work. We get the reveal who the ghost is that she's seeing and why, and we get the final act between Andrew and Lee and the detective, and then it's left somewhat on a cliffhangery thing, but through the course of the ending and then just that little, I think they do like a 1 month later thing. Lee finished her book, so there you go. She got all the inspiration she needed, and she was able to put together a manuscript. And yeah, it's the final scene of the movie. It's not necessarily horrible. I don't think that it's gangbusters either. It's a tubi thriller, so there you go. Not necessarily 100% original story. The acting is mid-level, acting. So I'm not like totally upset that I watched it. Um, Thankfully, they had the foresight to keep it to an hour and 17 minutes. Probably they could have even shaved it a little bit more and maybe just done it as a 1 hour. But I think it's overall, it's not too bad. The poster is deceiving. That is, there's that girl with the white eyes holding the music box and that house. They are not not what's in the movie. There is a house, but it's not that house. There is a little girl, but it doesn't look like her. And there is a little music box, and it doesn't look like that in the poster there. So, yeah, so be warned when going in. You won't see any of that. The red lights, though, you definitely, that red light in the poster that's glowing out of the house, that is a predominant thing. When there's paranormal stuff going on, that's your cue. When you see the red glow, then you know. Yeah, so let me know in the comments down below if you're going to check out Foreclosure 2. Maybe you saw Foreclosure the original. Was it better than this one? Let me know in the comments down below.